One of the strongest items right now, so strong it even got hotfix nerfed, is Collector. This is of course phenomenal news for the champion Samira, who is very strong in the current meta for a number of reasons. Yes, even after the nerf, Collector is still a top tier purchase, enabling Samira like nothing else. While in the past, Samira's item builds especially had a strong focus on defensive prowess, her Season 14 core build is nothing but pure offense, fully embracing the bot lane fiestas that came with the new jungle changes. One caveat before we proceed though, if you are looking for a proactive, hyper-aggressive 1v9 champion, Samira is not for you. In that case, you should probably play Draven instead. Samira is in fact quite team-reliant and rewards patient players first and foremost. You will see what I mean during the analysis part of the video, but first I will give you Samira's optimal rune and item choices so you can copy those right away. And if you're watching videos like this one, chances are that winning and climbing in League of Legends solo queue is important to you. So, quick sponsor shoutout for the truly dedicated players who want to finally reach high elo. You can make your dream a reality this season with a coaching service from Solo Queue Solution. They have challenger coaches for all 5 roles who will work with you in one-on-one sessions, identifying your weaknesses as a player and eliminating those weaknesses with a custom lesson plan hand-tailored to your needs. You will see rapid improvements in your win rate, and yes, they even guarantee that you will reach Diamond after taking the full course. And by the way, I do read your comments, and someone said that it sounded fishy to them that Diamond would be guaranteed. How could they? Well, League of Legends is a game of skill, and any skill can be taught and learned, which is probably why you watched this channel in the first place. And of course, the Diamond guarantee is attached to conditions, for example that you actually attend all the sessions with your coach, and that you play at least 15 hours of solo queue per week. As you can see, it is only for the truly dedicated players, but if that's you, you can find additional info in the video description or book your first session with the link right away. But back to topic. The ideal Samira rune page is Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Bloodline and Last Stand, with Taste of Blood and Treasure Hunter secondary. Conqueror is the most consistent keystone for Samira by far. The reason is that, of course, Samira is rather spell-based, most other AD carries rely more on auto-attacks, but Samira needs to go in there with her spells and combo them together to actually stack her passive for her ultimate, and while you stack for your ult, you also stack Conqueror at the same time, unlocking the full benefits when it matters most. Triumph in the second row is recommended because Samira actually takes a lot of damage while going in, a lot of her damage is only unlocked when you are in melee range after all, and Triumph will counter that. It works perfectly with your E resets as well, because when you're too low you couldn't continue with your E dashes, because else you would die, but with the Triumph health you can keep going and hopefully clean up that massive teamfight. Now Legend Bloodline is of course also a no-brainer because Legend Alacrity does not really help Samira since she is rather spell-based as I've said, and Legend Tenacity, while it would be nice, is still not as strong as Legend Bloodline. Most of Samira's spells, the most important ones Q and Ultimate, do apply lifesteal, so again you take a lot of damage because you dash into melee range and any lifesteal is welcome, especially because the new Season 14 build does not incorporate lifesteal as early as I've already teased. Now most champions in that last slot would take Coup de Grace, but Samira has special synergy with Last Stand. It all ties back to her overall game plan. You are in melee range, you take damage, therefore you need defensive runes as I've said, but Last Stand also unlocks crazy damage potential when you fight on low health, which will often be the case. By the way, what other champions actually use Last Stand? It's only Samira and Karthus, isn't it? Anyway, for the secondary path you go for Domination, mainly for Treasure Hunter because Samira can snowball very hard off of early game engages, but the second rune on the Domination path is actually a lot more interesting than it looks. For the longest time I postulated you should go Eyeball Collection, and I still think Eyeball Collection is a good rune on Samira, but not as good as Treasure Hunter, and in most situations I would say not as good as Taste of Blood. The reason is that in Season 14 there will be a lot more action early game, so being healthy enough to actually participate in that action is important, and Taste of Blood will allow you to do that. Samira is quite prone to getting chipped down in lane because again you need to be patient, so the extra healing can go a long way, enabling you to fight later on when opportunity presents itself, instead of having to retreat because your HP is too low. And when looking at Samira's item build, you have plenty of snowballing in there, so Eyeball Collection would, I don't know, be a win more rune rather than a rune that allows you to win in the first place? Anyway, Samira's item build is very streamlined and the full build looks like this. First item Collector, then defensive boots, either plated steel caps or mercury treads, then Infinity Edge, then a Last Whisper item, either Lord Dom's or Mortal Reminder. Only then do you buy Shield Bow, and for your last item you have the options of Guardian Angel or Bloodthirster. Guardian Angel is better against burst damage and assassins if they are the problem on the enemy team composition, and Bloodthirster is better for longer fights against tanks. As you can see, your 3-item core of Collector, Infinity Edge and the Last Whisper item does not have any lifesteal. Your Legend Bloodline and your Triumph and the little bit of Conqueror and Taste of Blood healing is the only things you have. Yet it is well worth it, because again, Collector is completely broken. The nerf is more like a slap on the wrist, it got 100 gold more expensive. But in exchange, this season not only did Lethality get buffed, but Collector itself also got 5 more AD. Quick reminder in case you don't know, lethality in this season is literally equal to flat armor penetration, which is a massive buff for the early game and for any champion who buys a serrated Dirk for their first component. Finishing Collector on Samira, it is such a synergistic item, is so important that many players even skip tier 1 boots until the item is finished, just to get it as early as possible. Now for the boots choice, it will mostly be plated steel caps, but against very magic heavy teams or teams with a lot of crowd control, Mercury treads is the viable alternative. The follow-up of Infinity Edge and the Last Whisper item is just the mathematically correct way of maximizing your damage, and only once you can one-shot squishies with ease, it is time for Shield Bow. Yes, Lord Dom's / Mortal Reminder is an item to one-shot squishies with, because at this stage even their base armor will be high enough for a Last Whisper item to be relevant. Okay, but how do you make optimal use of this build? Well, let's go right into the analysis. During the lane phase, patience is key on Samira. Yes, she can suffer a little bit versus poke, but she is not that 1v9 champion that just goes in. She's not a Draven who perma-all-ins the enemy bot lane. She needs to sit back and wait for opportunities created by her support. Yes, poke damage is nasty, but this is also where the value of Taste of Blood can truly shine. It makes you less punishable, and you need to be patient, you need to stay safe, because Samira can't make plays by herself, she needs setup. But even if you get poked constantly, I mean you have potions, you have Taste of Bloods, but even if you get hit by Zyra, by Jhin, it's a nasty lane combo. Samira, all it takes, 1 all-in, 1 engage from her support Rakan, and as you can see, it looks like Samira is in trouble here, but actually it's Zyra who's in trouble. She has to flash. The all-in is so potent, it will force out a summoner at the very least. And I really mean it. Their summoners is, for many champions, the only way to avoid Samira's follow-up, to avoid getting killed. So if Flash is on cooldown because they get caught earlier, the next time they get caught, there's just no chance for them. They will go down to your full combo, especially when coupled with your support's damage. Yet keep in mind that you can't be the playmaker yourself most of the time. You need to rely on your supports or any teammates' engage potential. If they don't land their spells, there's little you can do except for if the enemy overextends on low HP. But please, keep in mind that situations like this one are the exception, not the rule. For the most part, you wait for your supports engage. However, if the enemy is low enough, yes, they're 1 level higher in that case, but they're still low enough to die to 1 full rotation of your all-in combo, so Samira actually has the opportunity to just dash in despite being low herself, because if you kill the enemy first, you will get your E reset and you will get the Triumph proc, which does allow you to continue or to live, or in the worst case trade 1 for 1, which generally speaking does favor Samira's snowballing build. But for the most part on Samira, laning equals safety. You want to safely farm, you don't want to overextend, you don't want to be too proactive. Farm, patience, safety. Never force anything. Really, it's the most important thing when playing Samira. However, don't forget it is season 14. The jungle has been changed. Bot lane is a complete fiesta lane. Everyone will want to fight, so your patience will be rewarded. These post-level 6 bot lane skirmishes are the ideal situation for Samira. It is so easy. Once a support or your jungler or whoever is bot lane lands an engage, it is very easy to stack your passive to full, and your ultimate deals AoE damage. You can clean up super easily, get your E resets, and get ahead with your snowballing items. And in the mid-game, it's the very same thing. You still need to be patient, but you also need to put yourself in situations where opportunity can present itself, which means you need to stay close to your teammates, because the more teammates are nearby, the easier or the more likely it is that one of them finds an engage, and once that happens, again, Samira's follow-up game is too good, and you can start getting more and more kills and more items. And the most important location for that is the mid lane. Not only can you farm here, but also mid lane towers are very important and you're defending that at the same time. And you also have easy access to your team. Whatever happens on the map, you can be there and you can look for opportunities to get even further ahead. So while Samira's game plan stays very consistent throughout the entire match, the execution is a little more difficult in the late game because there are more threats. Yet, when it's just a single target, your Season 14 hyper offense build will shred them to pieces with ease, but if it's more than one enemy, you need your team for protection. Please have a look how this player navigates. Again, the combination of Collector, Infinity Edge and the Last Whisper item is very strong, so if a singled out opponent gets caught, it's easy to make quick work of them. But against multiple enemies, on the other hand, you have to back off immediately. You don't want to get caught, especially not when your team can't counter-engage, because if you join the fight first, your team will lose. Here, Samira stays in the backline, waits for her teammates to arrive so they can cancel the dangerous Malzahar ult, and after this happens, Samira is free to go in again and threaten the enemy with her huge damage follow-up. However, I cannot stress enough that executing Samira's game plan requires patience first and foremost. Those montage plays are only possible if you can wait for your team to create the openings for you. Try to do it yourself and you will get killed while making zero progress, actually losing your team the game in the worst case. Anyway, if you want to see a full gameplay video of Season 14 Samira with educational live commentary, click the link on your screen right there.